Quest. Depression Quest is a game that deals with living with depression in a very literal way. This game is not meant to be fun or light-hearted experience. If you're currently suffering from an illness or easily triggered, please be aware this game uses stark depictions of people in very dark places. If you're suicidal, please stop playing this game and visit this link. The goal of this game is twofold. Firstly, we want to illustrate as clearly as possible what depression is like, so that it may be best understood by people without depression. Hopefully this can be something to spread awareness and fight against the social stigma and misunderstandings that depression sufferers face. Secondly, our hope is that in presenting a real simulation of depression as people, other sufferers will come to know that they aren't alone, and hopefully derive some measure of comfort from that. It goes without saying that because of the very nature of depression, it is experienced differently by every person who suffers from it. We aren't trying to say that this is the best or most accurate representation, merely that this is an amalgamation of the experience of developers and several people close to them. Many of the following encounters deal with issues such as therapy, medication, handling a love life, and reaching out to support networks. In reality, less than half of depression sufferers actually seek treatment for reasons such as a lack of money, perceived personal failing, or public stigma. These things were included in our order to touch upon a broad range as possible. Since all these elements can be very important to sufferers of depression, but they will likely not be the experience of most sufferers, it is important to recognise that not everyone with depression is so lucky. Many people with the illness do not have a lot of the luxuries that we have in this game. We've written it in a way so we can focus specifically on the illness, which becomes more and more difficult to deal with as the person who has it is less and less well off. For the reason, a portion of the proceeds from this game will be donated to iFriend.org to help support depression, treatment and education. We're here to contribute. This game also uses audio as part of the gameplay. We encourage you to play with the sound on. Thank you for playing. Let's begin. It is early on a Monday morning. You are a mid-20s human being. You have a significant other named Alex, who you are rather fond of, but you have been seeing exclusively for the past few months. The rest of your social circle consists of a variety of friends and acquaintances, some of whom you met at your day job, which is a little boring, pays the rent. You'd like to be doing more with your life, as with your parents, but you're still in the process of figuring out what that means and how to go about it. You're also dealing with motivation issues that sometimes makes dealing with these things difficult. You feel like this is probably your fault, and on bad days you feel inwardly angry and down on yourself for being lazy. Quote, but you're not quite sure how you can break out of it, or how you'll deal with these feelings. You seem so very functional. You spend a lot of nights fixating on things and thinking about this, but never seem to do anything about it other than lose sleep. It's an unseasonably warm Wednesday evening. You spent the past several hours at work. The past week or so you found your job motivation flagging more so than usual. So you've been in the fog practically all day today, simply going through the motions without realising even what you've been doing half the time. Yes, time seems to be moving at half speed. You're so checked out when your boss approaches you and tells you that it's dead, and you can go home early. It barely registers. As you walk home, the streets hiss from recent rainfall. You know that your significant other will be in class until late, a couple hours at least. You briefly consider using serendipitous solitude to catch up on the project you've been working on haphazardly for the past few months. As soon as you think about the work that awaits you at home, you can feel the panic creeping in from the back of your brain. Unbidden, all you can think about is how incredibly far behind you are, and the amount of work seems nothing less than insurmountable. But by the time you arrive home and change out of your uncomfortable work clothes, the stress is weighed down on you like a heavy, wet wool blanket. Your computer seems to be staring at you down from your desk. You want to sit down and work, but the mere thought of trying to work sends your stress levels flying. More than anything, you feel suddenly and absolutely exhausted. You feel a strong desire to simply hide in bed. Do you? You can't order food and put down work for the night. You can either reluctantly sit down at your desk and try to make yourself do something. You're not going anywhere doing that. Turn on the TV, telling yourself you just need a quick half an hour to unwind from work. Or you can crawl into bed. You're so stressed and overwhelmed you couldn't possibly accomplish anything anyways. I think what I'd do is if I really didn't feel like working, I would watch TV for a bit. Just a half hour of TV, you tell yourself. Absolutely grasping for the remote. You don't so much sit down on the couch as sink into it. You turn on the TV and start going through your usual channel routine. After a few cycles of this, you realise that you're really not doing much more than fun calisthenics and absolutely killing time. You check the clock and see that over 20 minutes have already passed since you sat down. As your self-imposed time limit creeps ever nearer, you become more and more anxious. You stand up and walk to the fridge, telling yourself, I'll just make a quick sandwich and get to work after that. Can't be productive on an empty stomach, right? As you eat, you start pacing around the apartment, heading past your bedroom. In the process, you stop in the doorway, as if physically unable to cross the threshold. Familiar waves of exhaustion start racking at you, and you feel simultaneously tired and panicked. As you close your door and head to the couch, it's still early yet. You tell yourself, as long as I get to work in an hour, I'll have plenty of time to be productive. As you flip the channels on like the CSI and Jeopardy return, wash over you and sink deeper into the couch, feeling at once encouraged upon and shielded by the quite literally swallowed up bed. As the second hour draws nearer, sure enough you find yourself getting anxious and jittery. You repeat the fridge-paced couch process a couple more times before you look at the clock and realise that several hours have passed, and not surprisingly you manage to get no work done. You crawl into bed, actually aware of the fact that you have work in the morning, and that any opportunity you had to catch up on your own creative endeavours today was squandered. You're feeling so disgusted with yourself that when Alex calls to you on your way home from class, you simply say you've had a really rough day at work and you're trying to rest up before the shift tomorrow. She says she understands and wishes you good night, but you can't help but notice that she sounds slightly disappointed. Ironically, the stress of potentially upsetting your partner compounds with the stress of not having gotten anything done this evening, and the stress of having to go into work tomorrow. The buzzing of anxiety in your brain melts together with your body, utter physical exhaustion, and you sink into semi-hydraulic anxious funk. Too tired to try and work, but too anxious to fall asleep for several hours. It's a mild Friday afternoon. Alex calls you for one of her classes, telling you that that there's going to be a really awesome birthday party tonight at her apartment. One of her roommates is throwing it. You've hung out with her roommates a few times with Alex, and you're getting along well enough, but work in the morning, and you have nothing else in particular to do tonight. You are feeling kind of run down, but you have been fatigued most of the time lately. You mentioned that you're feeling ill because you're not sure how else to explain those feelings to someone else, and say that you aren't sure that you can make it tonight. There's a second of silence over the phone. You can hear the sound of her partner's face fall. She tries to convince you anyway. You haven't seen her this week, and she sounds pretty insistent that you come over. She even drops a few suggestive hints like you can stay over tonight after the party. What do you do? We agree to go. You agree to go, even though you're really not feeling social. You know it's important to Alex, and you've really liked to see her. Seeing her does make you feel better sometimes, and you hope that this is the case tonight, even though if it does mean dealing with unusual social anxiety. The time to leave rolls around from your overnight bag. Alex's apartment is a short walk away, and there are already people hanging out on the porch. You feel your chest tighten as you approach the building, trying to steal your nerves. You quickly find your partner chatting away with the birthday girl, and Alex immediately lightens up when she sees you. I'm so happy you came. I wasn't sure if you were going to make it. The young man taps you on the shoulder and she turns back to you to apologise to let you know that they have to go do something for the party. Alex hands you a beer and plants a kiss on your cheek before going off to deal with whatever came up. As you walk around, you don't see anyone else you recognise. We can't enthusiastically socialise, it's not us. You can often stand at the same spot, unsure of what else to do. You can put a bag in Alex's room and avoid the crowd in there for a while. You can cling back to the back wall, sip your beer, wait for your girlfriend to return, or you can proceed to drink in earnest, hoping it makes you feel less uncomfortable. Drink is the solution. After Alex walks away, you're not quite sure what to do with yourself. Scanning the party for familiar faces yields nothing, and you're not sure where your girlfriend or the birthday girl got after. You look at the beer in your hand, and you know you care a lot less about everything in general when tipsy, but you know you should avoid getting drunk and possibly emotional. You quickly down the beer, hoping it will loosen you up a little. You down a few more as quickly as your stomach will let you handle the carbonated comfortably, and wait for it to take effect. By the time it does, Alex has already returned and is introducing you to people. However, all the drinking accomplished was making you even more tired and unfocused, and you stick to your girlfriend for the rest of the night, staying fairly quiet in group conversations. Later that night, as the two of you are both tipsy and dozing off, Alex cuddles up to you and lightly slows. I'm really glad you turned up tonight. To be honest, I really didn't think you'd show. It's really cool you did. Really. I know she meant it lovingly, but you're not quite sure how you feel about the statement. He's a bit upset that she thought I wouldn't have anything. So this tells me what a statement. You are very depressed. You spend a large amount of time sleeping, hating yourself, and have very little energy or motivation. You're not currently seeing a therapist. You're not currently taking medication for depression. It's a little afternoon on a lucky Saturday. Mother has come over for a surprise visit, claiming loudly that she doesn't see you enough. So she decided to invite herself over. As you converse, she walks around your place and you get the distinct impression that you're being inspected. So what's going on with you lately? She asks abruptly. Taken somewhat aback by this left field you tell her you're not sure what she means. She repeats the question, saying that you haven't seemed like yourself lately. She gestures to the dirty dishes piled in the sink and notes the fact that you haven't called or visited in a while. Your resistance only seems to spur her on more. She presses you, asking if you're having problems at work or with Alex. You're beginning to feel increasingly battered by her sudden well-mannered but overwhelming inquisition. Without question, you become increasingly uncomfortable. want to be able to explain to her how you've been feeling, but the truth is you're not really sure yourself. Nothing horrific has happened at work, or your significant other, or friends, or anything like that. But all the same, you can't deny that lately you just felt drained, as though you're not really here. You wish you could tell your mother these things, but she hasn't been approachable about negative emotions in the past. She's the kind of person who holds the opinion that the solution to any problem is to simply try harder and maintain a positive attitude, a stance that she reared its head in the past and conversations when you begin to explore the subject with her. You know she's unlikely to understand. You feel the energy drain out of you when you imagine what would happen if you managed to blurt out everything you're feeling. We can't let her know that you're feeling down lately, and that you appreciate her concern. We can try and be honest with her anyway, or we can tell her that everything is fine and thank you for asking, or we can change the subject. Let's try and be honest with her. You attempt to tell your mother how you're feeling, despite initial misgivings that you have about doing so. Find the right words for how you're feeling. Feels like trying to untangle Christmas lights, searching for the dead bulb in the cluttered mess. She watches you critically and formally sighs before you can clearly articulate anything. Unfortunately, she reacts predictably. Attitudes like that won't get you anywhere. You need to work harder at getting what you want instead of sitting around feeling sad about it. Nothing good will happen unless you make it happen. She's not very helpful. She isn't angry or spiteful when she tells you this. You try to explain that it's not a matter of that, but you can tell that you're not getting anywhere. The frustration chokes the words in your throat, and you give up on trying to push the subject further. You know she's giving you the advice that makes sense to her and genuinely wants the best for you. However, she doesn't understand that this is not simple as somehow deciding to be positive or work harder. In fact, those things aren't viable options because of these feelings. You accept your defeat, and the conversation drifts onto other subjects. She leaves after chiding, you to call. I don't know that word. Chiding you to call her more often and take better care of yourself. You sigh heavily as you close the door behind her. Spend the next few hours lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. It's a lazy Sunday morning. You are idly clicking around online as your phone rings. Sam, a co-worker of yours, not a co-worker, a co-worker of yours that you're friendly with, asks how are you, and makes hurried small talk with you. You typically only ever talk to him on the phone when one of you needs a shift covered, so it's slightly awkward. You're waiting in anticipation for him to ask you to come in on short notice. When he veers the conversation to a completely different direction. How do you feel about cats? He asks. Mine had kittens a few weeks ago, and I'm having an awfully hard time finding a home for the last one of the litter. You don't have pets, right? It takes you a moment to process this new information. You're caught off guard as he begins to earnestly try to sell you on the idea of taking the last kitten off his hands. It's not something that you had specifically considered before, and he seems fairly insistent. She's a real sweetheart, really loves people. She's got all her shots already taken care of. The vet said she's healthy as a horse. You can bring her over by your place tonight if you're interested. You're around your apartment to try and picture a cat in it, and continues to tell you how cute she is. You tell him that it's all kind of sudden, and that you don't have anything for the kitten set up here. Oh, don't worry about that. I can bring over a litter box and food, and all that. since you fairly helped me out with some fix. That's the least I can do. I just don't want to have to put her in a shelter. Aww. You can't help but feel like you're being guilt-tripped. Yes, we are, but still. But you decide to give it some serious consideration. It does get awfully lonely around your apartment, and it might feel less empty with a cat around. However, since you've been feeling down, it might not be a good idea to take on responsibility of a cat, even if they are fairly low maintenance. What do you do? We can't take the cat knowing full well that you can take great care of it. And we can't decline even though you'd be totally capable of taking care of it. Not much of a cat person. You become a cat owner. You could use the companionship. Decline. You're not in a good enough place to be taking on responsibility right now. Or in decline, you don't like cats. I'm going to become a cat owner. I have a cat. Cats like good companions, make you happy and whatnot. You accept the offer of the kitten. And hang up shortly after making arrangements for when your co-worker can drop her off tonight. After hanging up, you worry about if you suddenly take on responsibility that you can't handle, and hope you don't make a small animal suffer for it. Aww. You're not entirely sure what to expect, and you spend the rest of the afternoon researching cat care online and trying to think of a name. The evening rolls around and you hear a knock at the door, stopping you out of reading Wikipedia entries too hard. You take possession of a small, terrified, black and white kitten in a carrier. Although along with everything, you need to start taking care of her. You take her into your bedroom, close the door, open the door to the carrier, excitedly. She cowers in the back of it, and you back off, feeling slightly defeated. You remember when you research on introducing a kitten to a new home, you leave her alone to go mess around on your computer, hopefully checking over your shoulder every so often to see if she comes out yet. She hides inside her carrier, periodically making sorrowful cat howls, long enough for you to stop worrying that she already doesn't like you. By the time you go to bed, she curls up at the foot of it, eyeing you nervously before falling asleep. Over the next few days, you gain her trust and she begins affectionately following you around, sleeping on you, and hopping up on you anytime you sit down to do some work. Aww. God, we got a cat. That should make us a bit more cheerful. Cat's lovely. When I got my cat, she's lovely. It's a late Friday afternoon, and quitting time is just around the corner. A bright, clear day is giving way to a still, temperate evening. You can hear your co-workers all around you anxiously making plans for the evening and weekends, but you're really looking forward to just going home and resting after what's turned out to be a very long and taxing work week. Just before the end of your shift, you get a call from Alex. It seems a group of your mutual friends are heading out to a nearby pub for dinner and drinks to celebrate the end of the week, and they want to know if you would like to come along. You gently tell her that you're emotionally exhausted from the work week and social outings like that just take too much out of you to stay. You encourage her to go and have a good time since you know it's been a while since she's gone out with her friends, but the effort feels futile since you know that she isn't going to go without you. A couple of hours later, the two of you find yourselves in a familiar position on the couch, watching comedy shows on Netflix. A box of pizza open on the coffee table in front of us. As you look across the couch at her, you start to feel anxious. You feel bad about effectively forcing the two of you to stay in tonight again. While you are always appreciative of your partner's efforts to take your feelings into account and to help make sure you're socially comfortable, you sincerely worry that you're holding her back from enjoying a more fulfilling relationship. While she does seem to enjoy spending time with you, as the two of you sit sitting comfortably, almost content in silence, watching old shows you've each seen 2 or 3 times before. Your ever-increasing fear that your relationship is becoming one-sided weighs more and more heavily on you. You feel more like a burden or a reward to her, and it's virtually impossible for you to see what value you can possibly offer to her in return. Worst of all, this nagging fear has made you feel more self-conscious than ever, withdrawing ever inwards, and you're starting to pull away from Alex herself. What do we do? You know, despite the bad times your girlfriend sincerely loves you, relationships are a two-way street, and you resolve to always be here for her, like she's always been here for you. Sadly, we can't do that. Tell Alex how important she is to you, and enjoy your evening. Sadly, we can't do that either. Ask Alex if she's happy with your relationship. Don't say anything. You're already worried after her being upset with you. Well, neither of these are good options. I guess we ask her. You look over at Alex, who hasn't noticed you watching her yet, and tries to phrase your expression on her face. You worry that it's one of her sheer boredom and bare tolerance. You wonder if she's thinking about all the fun things she could be out doing tonight if she wasn't trapped on this couch with you, ordering from one of the same 3 takeout places that you always order from. A sense of disappointing her creeps over you. As you picture what the night could have been if you had just accepted the invitation she had made earlier. I know this is a pretty boring Friday night for you. Are you really happy being with me, being like this? She turns to look at you, forehead wrinkled. Why do you ask me that so often? You feel her body stiffen and pull away from you just a little. Well, I mean, you start but unable to try and think of how to answer. It's probably silly, but it's reassuring when I hear that we're on the same page. I want to be sure I'm right for you, so I can't do even those. I'm withdrawing for option 2, I could. I know it's not what you usually be up to. I don't know, I get kind of worried that you're getting bored sometimes. Never mind. Let's go with I know it's not what you're usually up to. I know it's not what you're usually up to. Alex frowns. What do you mean by that? I just mean you usually aren't going out and doing things, partying and stuff, you know? She sighs and falls into the couch. It's not like I want to do these things all the time. I like nights in too, just like everyone else. She turns to you. Frustration wears on her face. Sometimes I swear, it feels like you don't know me at all. No, it's not that I'm just... Her voice trails off. You notice that she has an exasperated look on her face that you have seen often once or twice when you have conversations like this. Conversations where you're poorly expressing your own self-doubt and insecurities, seeking reassurance, but really feeling like you're making things worse. She sighs again, this time louder, turning towards the flickering screen. I'd like to spend time with you again. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. The annoying tone in her voice makes you think otherwise. But you take it as a sign that you should probably drop it for now. You feel badly for upsetting things. Oh, this is very depressing. Which is kind of the point, because it's supposed to express the point of someone with depression. It's a breezy Sunday afternoon. You've allowed a man there, an old friend from school, that is in town for the weekend to talk you into leaving the house for coffee and catch up. You meet her at a small cafe. You talk about what you've been up to since you last seen each other. You can't help but feel like there are a lot more accomplished and interesting than you are while listening to them talk about their life after school. When it's your turn to brief them on your activities, you feel anxious and ashamed. Give a very abbreviated version. You try to talk about your job as little as possible, and you feel incredibly boring while you describe, despite your experience, sincere interest in your wife. Amanda has known you long enough to read your mood and tone of voice. She leans in to ask a question while gently touching your hand. A look of genuine concern on her face. What's wrong? Sadly, we cannot suggest a change of location and confide in her honestly, which would be most appropriate. Can't test the waters, open up a little, hoping she'll understand. Insist there's nothing wrong and change the subject. Definitively ask what she means by that, or notice that your hands are shaking. Let's notice that our hands are shaking. It's such a small question, but it feels like a blow to the gut. You surprise yourself when you realise that your tightly clenched fists are now beginning to shake slightly. Despite your best efforts, you feel tears beginning to sting in your eyes. Tears beginning to sting in your eyes. You try to discuss this by tilting your head, disguise it by tilting your head and praying that they'll suck back in. She suggests that you two get out of here, and you feel mortified. She offers to go back to your apartment with you. Two of you end up talking in the car for 2 hours as the words just pour forth from you. Amanda seems unsure what to say at times, but she listens and rubs your back as you sob and talk. She asks if you've gone to a doctor about this. You admit that you haven't. She mentioned that her mother is seeing a very good therapist in town and offers to ask her about it. You're not thrilled about the idea of going to a therapist, and even less thrilled that Amanda might be telling someone about your problems, which persists and tells you that she'll email you the doctor's contact information later in the week. If a therapist could help, then she go for it. It's a glaringly sunny Monday, and one of your few days that your brother Malcolm is in town, and free long enough for you to actually see each other. You have a dental appointment that day, and you make plans for him to pick you up afterwards. Your appointment takes a little longer than expected because your dentist tells you that you start grinding your teeth in your sleep to a worrying degree. Given how nearly everything your wife has been feeling enormous and stressful lately, that doesn't come as a surprise to you. It suggests that you try to reduce your stress levels and fit you for a new night guard. It feels awkward and too big for your mouth, and you feel embarrassed looking at your puffed out face in the mirror. Rub it in. You finish up the appointments in a hurry and leave about half an hour overdue for meeting your always punctual brother in the parking lot. I hope you haven't missed him. As you finish up as quickly as possible and leave the building to scan the parking lot for your brother's car, but you don't see the old Civic anywhere. Oh no. You pass by a blue Camry and jump as it beeps at you, causing you to jump in surprise. It takes you a moment to realise it's Malcolm in the driver's seat. You didn't leave me. You were hopping the passenger seat and compliment him on his new ride, and he mentions that it's a perk of a promotion he's recently obtained at work. He started telling you about how much more money he's making now. His career is really taking off, and how he's starting to look at houses for his wife soon. Oh, he's got a good life now. You clutch your bag containing the night guard in your hand and feel yourself clench your teeth as you think of the crummy apartment and how long it's been since you were able to take a day off work without having to worry about making ends meet. He's only 2 years older than you, but it feels like he's eons ahead of you. every other aspect of your lives. So, P.S. How did your appointment go? Did you get drilled full of holes or what? A sense of shame creeps over you. Why, he's a brother, he won't care if we grind your teeth. Laugh about your dorky night guard, but your brother can't do that. Tell him about the night guard and why you need it. Can't do that. You can lie. Tell him it's routine cleaning, or tell him about your tooth grinding problem, but not the stress causing it. Linda said I'm apparently grinding my teeth too much while I sleep. Oh, advice. Been stressed out lately, kiddo? Oh, you figured it out anyway. It's like you don't really want to go into it. You tell him that you don't think that's the cause, and it's probably just a random thing. He doesn't pry further, and instead begins reminiscing with you about the time you chipped baby teeth because he accidentally knocked you over once. You go out for dinner and catch up on things, but you still feel somewhat distracted by the gnawing anxiety in the back of your mind. Well, you enjoy your brother's company. You still feel like you want nothing more than to go home and hide from the world tonight. It becomes hard for you to try to stuff all your horrible feelings down and go emotionless when someone like the dentist can see a fraction of what goes on inside your head. It leaves you feeling embarrassed and weak, and you hate yourself for feeling that way. You wonder if you're really following anyone into thinking you're a normal person. I bet you wonder if your brother knows and is hanging out with you out of pity tonight. I'm sure he's not. After he drops you off back at your apartment, you throw the night guard out. You can't stand to even look at the thing. No, we don't want to be going back to the dentist again. It's a dry Sunday morning. You grab your morning coffee and scoot your rapidly growing kitten out of the office chair, and despite her protests, sit down at your desk to check your email. A new message pops up in your inbox. Almost as soon as you do, it's from Amanda. And you remember your meeting in the cafe and awkwardly bring up your feelings to her. Subject: Hey buddy. Body: Hey, sorry it's been a few weeks. I meant to get this to you sooner, but it took a while for me to get hold of the folks back home. Dad told me to say hi, by the way. Amanda. Anyway, I remember when we talked about this last time. I saw you, and I hoped you aren't insulted. I asked my mum for the number for the therapist. Don't worry, I didn't tell her who it was for. I think she's worried about me. No. Anyway, the number is that. It's a really good office. You should look into it. Talking to someone never hurts. If you're worried about money, don't be. We're one of the few that has really good sliding scale fee systems. I won't charge you what you can't afford. I hope you're feeling better. It was really nice to see you again. Hey. It's still hard enough that you could call and make an appointment. It's still early enough that you can call and make an appointment today. Your kitten curls up in your lap and says as you consider what to do. Call the therapist number. You're looking forward to the help, and you think they can offer, so we can't do that. You can try your luck and call the number, even though the mere thought of talking to someone makes you anxious. You're scared enough to send it to you after all. She cared enough to send it to you after all. Can't do that either. You can sleep on it and see how you're feeling in the morning. You're not keen on the idea at all, but you don't want to disappoint Amanda. You can close the email without thinking more of it. I don't want to do either of those. I guess it's the lesser of two evils. The thought of picking up the phone and calling someone back right now is overwhelming. Sure, you're having a hard time lately and having motivation issues, but are you really in the need of therapy? Shouldn't you be able to just get over it yourself? What if a possible medication that makes you feel a zombie? What if you go to a therapist looks down on you? What will Alex think about this? rest of the day passes quickly. And at night you have a hard time trying to sleep because your brain is too busy thinking about all these things. Imagine all the ways that could go wrong, horribly wrong. The next morning you check your email again. Blurry eyes and a mewing kitten. Amanda's email is still there, seemingly waiting for you. You are no more decided than you were yesterday. What now? You can't just call already. You can call after wrestling for a few minutes longer. Don't call. This is way too much for you to do. We have to call. We have to give it a try. You read through Amanda's email 2 or 3 times and sit and stare at the computer for a while, while the memory of the uncomfortable conversation makes you feel newly embarrassed and self-conscious. Part of you is also encouraged by the fact that she cared enough to go back to you at all. Sitting in front of your computer, you start to question things like whether or not Amanda sent this number out of pity, or perhaps she sensed a sense of obligation after having listened to you. You question their motives and the validity of their concern, and whether or not you think seeing a therapist would even be helpful. Yet, almost unconsciously, you reach for your phone, and before you realise what's happening, you're listening to the therapist's line ring. Before you can hear ring yourself to hang up, you listen to the slightly clinical but not unpleasant voice of the receptionist ask, "How can she help you?" "I'd like to make an appointment with the doctor," you manage to stammer out. The conversation is quick and not nearly as unpleasant as you were fearing, and quicker than you can say. Freudian slip. Your scheduled appointments quicker than you realise. Appointment day rolls around. What do? You can't go to the therapist's office? Head to the therapist's office even though you're totally unsure of what to expect. Sit in the car terrified and try to talk yourself out as going. Just the thought of going for the appointment ties your stomach in knots. You crawl back into bed. Head to the therapist's office. You have to try it. You have your first session with your new therapist, Dr. Susan Melvin, a tall woman in her mid-40s, disarming demeanour and patient eyes, with a slight smile lines. She makes you feel comfortable fairly easily, which is a pleasant surprise after all the anxiety over your appointment. As you leave, you make a second appointment. You're still sceptical about all this, but think you might as well see where this goes. The hardest part, it seems, was taking the first step. You're still not sure if and how you're going to tell your family or your partner, but you figure you'll deal with it when the time comes. Either way, you feel relieved that you managed to see this through instead of being paralysed with worry over it. Even if nothing comes of it, you did something. You said you would instead of flattening out or running away. You're emotionally exhausted. When you get home and collapse into bed, you sleep better that night than you have in a week, and you're not sure if it's because you were so tired when you're home, or it's because of the therapist. Say things are getting better. It is early on a Wednesday morning. Lately, you've developed a nasty habit of waking up 20 minutes before your alarm rings. Unfortunately, today is no exception. You lie in bed, taking closer and closer to wake-up time, and passing on a swelling wave of ever-encouraged dread. Sooner than you would like, the alarm blurs with caustic inevitability. You frantically pound the snooze button, and then retreat under your blankets, as if the warmth of the comforter could shield you from the passage of time. You almost always have difficulty rising from bed. Today, that simple task seems nothing short of Herculean. After several snooze cycles, you decide that you just can't deal with work today. You're incapable of even rousing yourself from bed. let alone going into work and having to force yourself for a work day. Not to mention, you've snoozed so many times that it will be impossible to make it to work on time anyway. What do? You can't hop out of bed and start getting ready for work. You'll be late, but better than not going at all. When into work, at least you can leave early if it's unbearable. Call the boss and tell them that they're sick. You don't want to be late. Boss might complain and make me more depressed. In spite of the fact that you know it's your job and you should go, you keep fighting yourself every step of the way. Every time you resolve to climb out of bed and just go, your body seems to get heavier and your head just gets foggier, and you find yourself unable to actually make yourself move. You grab your phone and dial your boss's number, hoping that it's early enough that he won't be there, and you can just leave a message. Unfortunately, after a couple of rings, voicemail picks up and you leave a message explaining that you're sick and won't be in today. As you hang up the phone, you worry that perhaps your message sounds like a lame excuse. You hope your boss won't call or email you to forward the message. But for now, you're too foggy to do much of any sort of thinking, and eventually you fall back into bed, back into sleep, but it's both heavy and restless with your kit curled up and your feet occasionally repositioning as you toss and turn. When you wake up the next morning, short of feeling well rested, you actually feel more stressed out. While it was definitely nice to get a break from work, you're now faced with a new problem you haven't considered before. You still have to go back to work today, while you aren't having the same physical problem getting out of bed when you were having yesterday. The prospect of having to face your boss after missing a day at work does not seem appealing in the slightest. You worry that your absence won't be seen as believable or legitimate, that your co-workers and boss will think you were just trying to half-assed play hockey, or worse, you fear that someone will actually ask you what's wrong, being caught in the instance, and having to either make up half of a baked excuse or worse. But they'll see right through you and know quickly has your mood matched the drizzling weather outside. You know that you have to go to work, but your fear of being perceived as either lazy or defective is making you regret yesterday's decision to take the day off, and ultimately you feel worse for it. It's 2 AM on a Sunday. You have work in the morning. You roll this sickly green glow of time displayed on your LED alarm clock, and let an exasperated sigh. You've been trying to fall asleep for over 3 hours now, to no avail. Every time your head hits the pillow, you overcome anxious thoughts that wrap themselves around each other. Worries about your job lead to worries about your future, lead to worries about your very identity. You're unable to shake them off long enough to doze off. Your eyes won't ever even stay shut as your mind races through imagined scenarios going horribly wrong, with you promptly attribute to your general worthlessness. Your thoughts run too fast for you to come to a satisfied conclusion on any of them. Your room is completely silent, silence is giving way to a loud static noise rattling around inside your head. Your heart beats loudly, and you worry it's beating a little too fast. You worry that if you focus too strongly on your racing heart, you'll freak out hard enough that you will have a heart attack. You have to be awake for a mere 8 hours, and you know that your work is so much worse on only a few hours sleep. What do? We only have one option here. I can't force myself to go to sleep. I can't do that either. I can't go to bed. It shouldn't be that hard. Just close your eyes and let it happen. Why won't your thoughts back off for a few 5 seconds? Can't snap out of it. What's wrong with you? Why can't you sleep stressed out 5 seconds? You're probably going to go into work tomorrow exhausted, fuck everything up and get fired. Then go to the computer. Sleep is coming out happening no matter how long you lie here. Get out of bed, head to your desk, lie in your bed with nothing but your thoughts to keep you company makes you feel like you're going insane. The harshness of light coming from your screen makes you squint. As you turn it on, despite how often you find yourself in the exact situation, there have been so many nights lately just like this. As you begin reading a new story, an online friend of yours, I am you, attic. You're up late again, I see. Yeah, can't sleep. Again. Thinking too much again. You guessed it. Want to talk about it? You end up talking with Attic quite some time about how you've been feeling. It's always been easy to talk to you about personal matters, and the added security of talking online helps. Being able to rethink what you say as you type it, and type it out and check it before you send it. That helps. You gather your thoughts and you find it less intimidating in a way to type it all type into a prompt that says out loud. Attic says, I don't want to be the guy who thinks you can diagnose something because I read a Wikipedia article, but it kind of sounds like you might have depression. You should talk to someone about it, like a doctor. You pause. Are you really that transparent? Or is it that you've gotten used to talking about your feelings at this point? Your insomnia makes you a little paranoid. Can you shake it off? As it says, we can do some research and see if there's a good doctor near you. It's not like you're going back to sleep anytime soon anyway. Might as well do something while you're awake. Smiley face. We can't say this is just a long night. I know you sleep, I don't have depression. But thank you for your concern. I can say no, it's okay, or I can say actually, I have talked to someone about it. Oh, okay. I'm glad you're talking about that. You're talking to taking that step. I've heard it's not an easy one. I know people kind of suck at understanding this sort of stuff sometimes, but there's nothing wrong with having depression. You wouldn't be ashamed to have bronchitis or something. There's no reason to be ashamed. If it's your brain that's sick instead. You spend a few minutes talking with Attic about your therapy and your feelings about it. It's incredibly supportive. You're happy to find that you're confident and have a confidence. Is that confidence? It's about that confidence. That's confident that understands your illness and is willing to lend an ear when you're having nights like this. A little while later, you fall back into bed, kitten in tow, and find it easy to drift off to sleep. Even in therapy, you know you're going to have nights like this sometimes. It's good to know that you have a friend who will help carry you through them. It's a chilly Thursday night. You've gotten off work. This has left like one of the longest days you've faced in recent memory. Even though nothing exceptional had happened. A ton of minor things kept going wrong, and co-workers had tried your patience throughout the day. You considered leaving work early, but you've already had enough absences lately. The day you feel too crushed by the job to get out of bed and didn't want to risk it. You're lost in thoughts out of the commute home, on the commute home, and you feeling of frustration both with your life and the world around you build up as you run into minor annoyances, like someone bumping you really hard as you walk by. By the time you get home, you're exhausted and remember that these feelings once you may identify as a negative feedback loop with your therapist. These pent-up feelings aren't dying down and they're eating at you. You open your front door and stare at your apartment. An overwhelming feeling of exhaustion overcomes you. You feel like your energy levels are low enough. You'll likely settle in and to a single activity tonight. What do? You can't just shake off your bad mood and do something fun for the rest of the evening. Reach out to someone close to me. Don't bear them. Let's reach out. Your head feels too noisy, and you need to trade it for some actual conversation. Your therapist did say that it's important to reach out to support networks, so you might as well give it a shot. Who do you call? Your co-worker Sam, friendly enough and could be a good distraction. We can't. Your mother, so she unconditionally loves you, and you should always understand you. Call Alex or girlfriend or Malcolm, his family. Let's call our girlfriend. I'm sure she'll want to see how we're feeling. You dial Alex. He picks her after only 2 rings. You ask if she has time to talk, and she says, and she tells you she's just hanging around in her PJs and is actually somewhat bored for once. She's been caught up with her coursework. You try to figure out where to start with your feelings, and you're overwhelmed with missing her face. You ask her if she feels like we're having some dinner, and you notice her belly contains surprise and delight on the other end of the line. Aww. You meet about half an hour later at an intense dining not far from your apartment. While your food is not great, you're surprised by how much your mood seems to be elevated just being in her company. While at first you were extremely hesitant to talk about your job situation for fear of being burdensome or sounding Hawaiian. You see her listening intently to you, with what even to you seems to be genuine concern. After winding down with a beer, you cautiously open up a little more about your feelings surrounding your job and how drained it leaves you feeling. You feel like you're simply existing, selling days of your life for no real purpose. You surprise even yourself when you start talking about your frustration and the stymied you feel by your job, and how you used to feel passionately about feelings, but feel like your energy and capacity for creativity is getting leached out of you each and every work day. You can't remember how long it's been since you've externalized as much raw emotion. Externalized. I didn't think that was a word. The two of you spent several hours in the diner, both long after you half-eaten food was cleared. Waitress stopped refilling your coffee cups. As you get up to leave, a sudden wave of self-consciousness washes over you. You suddenly feel incredibly awkward. Then Alex stands up and grabs you tightly around your waist. You realise that, short of boring her with your seemingly endless rants, she's simply happy to have gotten a chance to spend real time with you. It's been, by all accounts, incredibly too long since you allowed yourself to open up to them like this, and there's an almost palpable feeling of closeness you allow yourself to hold on to as you go to bed tonight. Oh, so we have a good day. It's an utterly nondescript Wednesday afternoon. The type of afternoon that would completely fade from memory unless one made an active efforts to preserve it. As has become routine on Wednesdays, you are sitting on your couch in Dr. Melv's office. To your mild surprise, she begins the session by breaking her chronological therapist's silence and begins speaking upright away. I want to start by saying I think it's great you decided to come see me. It's an incredibly important first step, she begins. want to take some time today to talk to you about the possibility of supplementing or substituting your treatment medication. Mention of medication makes your ears perk up and you feel your heart rate increasing. He continues. Many people find adding a therapeutic element to their treatment to be very helpful, and some even prefer to take drugs completely, eliminating the need to visit a therapist at all, providing you rely on the support network and are still reaching out to people. I prefer it when you keep talking should you choose to stop medication, so I can monitor your progress and adjust as needed. The choice is all for yours. I just wanted to run the option by you to gauge what your thoughts might be. Just give it a shot and giving you a lot to think about. We have all the options up here, so let's just look at our current state. You're very depressed and spend a large amount of time so sitting up there. You spend some time on the therapist's couch, you're having difficulty finding the motivation to continue going to your sessions, and you're not currently taking medication for depression. Okay, so we have all these options. We can accept the prescription or wait it or want your therapy. Tell her you'd like to try drugs instead of therapy. These weekly sessions have always made you more than a little uncomfortable. The thought of messing with your brain chemicals makes you uneasy. You'll stick with the therapy. This whole therapy thing has always overwhelmed you, and this is the final straw. You're done with both. Accept the prescription to augment your therapy. You think the matter over long and hard? It's strange to think that recently none of this sort of thing was ever on your radar, and you are now being asked to make a decision about it. You're both skeptical and nervous, still getting over the initial shock of even just talking to a therapist. Still, over the years you've done enough entry-level reading on the subject to know that if it doesn't help, at least it probably won't hurt, right? After an intense and proactive period of internal vacillation, you decide to bite the bullet and go for it. You tell Dr. Menlo that you'd like to try medication in addition to therapy, and you spend about half an hour going over what you'll be talking and what you should expect from it, what you'll be taking and what you should expect from it. Thinking back to the decision later, you're pretty sure you had your fist tightly clenched the whole way through. It's a Wednesday evening and you're visiting at your parents' house for a holiday. It's one of the handful of times during the year you drive out to visit your old hometown, and you've seen random people you had gone to school with around this town. Whenever bumping into them, the usual short versions of what you've done since graduating exchanged. You've gone for a few of these today and have been very aware of how much you feel you haven't accomplished when you were in high school. You had much larger plans and you feel like you failed to manifest most of them. Even if you had managed to, you've largely lost interest in what you thought you wanted to do growing up. Now you're not really sure what you want to do, and you've felt like you're lacking in ambition or drive to figure it out. Everyone you've caught up with seems so much happier than you, like they've got their lives all figured out. You're kind of being feeling like a failure by comparison. Not failure. Your brother Malcolm arrives with his wife in tow shortly before you all sit down to dinner. He's been travelling for his job lately, and you haven't seen him since the day he picked you up from the dentist. Your parents haven't seen him since before then. During dinner they catch up. Malcolm talks about his amazing things he's done on the road. Your mother turns to you and asks what you've been up to since last time. Since then, you've seen them last. Oh, same old crap. Same old. You say nothing really new going on. Oh, makes a face. Oh, nothing new. How long are you planning on staying at the What do you say? Can't tell what exact new job you're gunning for. That'll be a lie to me. Can lie, tell them what they want to hear. You're actually looking for more progressive positions. Admit that you don't know what you want to do. Excuse yourself to the bathroom. I think we should do excuse ourselves. As your mother looks across the table at you expectantly, everything inside you wants to run away. You've had this conversation with her enough to know that anything you say would either be a lie or result in a lecture. After spending the day feeling like you are a failure already, you can't really handle more of the same as your family regard of the same from your family, regardless of how well they mean. Actually, I'll be right back. I have to use the restroom. You excuse yourself from the table despite not actually having to use the facilities and head to the bathroom. You lock the door behind you, flip down the toilet lid, take a seat, and rest your head on your hands. You take a few deep breaths as your mind runs through its typical deprecating scripts, but you still feel as though it's a moment of relief. Even though you love your family, you really feel like they don't know you at all. Sometimes this makes them exhausting to be around on nights like this. You wish you could tell them what you're feeling, but sometimes it feels like you're lost in the woods, and that if you were to drop dead in your apartment, but the world wouldn't notice. You want to make her understand that more often than not, you feel like an alien, that there isn't anywhere in this world that feels like a place where you belong, and you have no idea how to fix it or what to do. You wish you could tell them, find the words to say what they understand, say that they understand you, but you end up feeling like an outsider instead. Instead, you decide to remove yourself from the situation and calm down. You couldn't see a resolution where attempting those things would work. You need a moment of space instead. You hear a knock on the door. Malcolm's voice comes from the door. Hey kiddo, are you alright in there? I've been there for a while. Yeah, I was just feeling a little sick. Well, if there's anything I can do, just let me know. I'm about to serve pie though. You're feeling up for it? Yeah, I'll be out in a minute. Malcolm was quiet for a moment. Hey, just so you know, I'm really proud of you. You hear his big footsteps walk away from the door. You splash some water on your face before leaving to rejoin your family. It's quite a long experience. It's a rainy night. You're hurrying through the rain to Alex's apartment, at her behest. Though your pace is quick, the rain is steadily soaking up your pants legs. As you traverse the town, it's darkening. You're already palm-mood. The call came while you were at home hot after a day of dealing with abnormally frustrating people. You spent the afternoon trying to unwind and get some work on your project done. Alex called and interrupted one of your trying to make progress. Get frustrated or not making progress. Have a hard time making progress due to frustration. Repeat loops, and you hadn't really fully shaken off the feeling of being annoyed with yourself from it yet. You knock at her door. On the third knock, you hear a voice call from further in the apartment. Come on in. As you cross the threshold, dripping rainwater all the way, you notice that the lights are turned down very low in the apartment. You squint to navigate it as you clutch onto the damp umbrella, but end up hitting your chin on the side table, mumbling profanity under your breath. You barely make out Alex emerging from the hallway, clad in clothing on what looks like a robe with bare skin of her legs peering out underneath. Why don't you come in and warm up? She asks in her designated, slightly cheesy, sexy voice. After a beat of silence, she states more naturally, my roommates are out of town this weekend, so I thought it might be nice to have a little fun while they're away. You appreciate her vexing, but you're too wrapped up in your own negative feelings loop to in the mood right now. What do you do? Let go of your stress and be intimate with your girlfriend, so we can't do that. Try to unwind with her before getting physical. Suggest you do something else instead. Tell her, no, we don't want to upset. Let's try to unwind. You're there standing barely lit, and notice there's a few candles scattered around the apartment. It occurs to you that she's trying to make the night special for the two of you, even though you have a tight knot of anxiety and frustration in your stomach. Seeing how much she cares makes you want to try to melt it away, so you can show her how much you care that she's gone through all this trouble, whether you desperately need to shift gears first before that's even possible. You look amazing. Let's have a drink together. I suggest having this will give you the push that you need to get in the mood. You go to the kitchen and pour the two of you drinks, trying to focus on letting go of your bad mood. You sit down on the couch next to her. She cuddles up to you instantly. What should we toast to? She asks as she takes her drink. You think for a moment, passing up the cheesy toss option. You say what's on your mind. Let's go off your bad day to tonight. The two of you cheers and you ask her about her day. Conversation turns deleteriously, and the two of you find yourselves in the bedroom shortly after. You find that you've been having trouble getting physical with her, and remembering dismissing arousal with possible side effect of your medication. You hope that you were part of the population that would be affected by it. It seems though that was not the case. However, you still enjoyed the culture vibes and forced it to get a away. Oh, you still had a nice night of her. That's something. It's an early Wednesday evening, and even though it's not particularly late, the time of the year has lent into the sky and almost permanently darkened cast. Day after day, just like today, you trudge home from your job and have increasingly become to hate. On this day, your job misery seems to have reached critical mass and is not even shedding your rain-laden and uncomfortable wet clothes to help you to unwind from your wet day. You collapse into your couch, black and numb, while your job always seems to just be unpleasant reality existence. It was a position you sort of fell into unexpectedly, never intending to work there long term, and it's getting harder and harder to keep it up. While it's certainly not your dream job, you've always just sort of stuck it out of necessity. Before, it's been becoming increasingly difficult to do that though. You couldn't even begin to imagine what else you could do. You find yourself face to face with a question you just can't ignore. Is your complacency worth the price of this level of misery? What do we do? Come on, get productive and polish off your resume and start looking for other jobs. Send feelers out to try at least be productive by focusing your efforts on the project tonight. You ever look through classified for another job? Let's look for another job. You boot up your computer and navigate to the local Craigslist. You shift through the myriad of legitimate postings, clear pyramid scams, and the occasional miscategorized random repair site. You You look for the section that is in the line with your current job and start feeling a bit of despair. Will things really be any different if you were simply doing the same thing somewhere else? You email your resume to a few of the postings after coming up with a cover letter that you could use for a variety of things. After you've exhausted the postings for the last few days, you head back to the main page. There's a section that's more in line with the project that you've been doing, though it's highly competitive creative field where you don't feel remotely qualified for. Despite that, you click on the section scrolling through the postings. You daydream about actually holding a position where you would get to do something more meaningful, despite feeling completely intimidated by the requirements. You find a listing and actually want to apply for. You spend an hour creating a really personal cover letter and really giving your all to the task. You never send off the email. You're rather convinced you'll never hear back from any of these places, but the act of trying to change your situation instead of stewing it on it actually feels quite freeing. You find yourself trying to stifle the hope that you'll end up getting the creative job, but still manage to pull up anyway. It's a little past 8 PM on Tuesday night. You're at your computer, frustration levels peaking, rubbing your eyes and sighing heavily. You're working on a project for your job that you've stretched to meet a looming deadline, and as it lurks closer and closer, you're seriously doubting your ability to get it done. You've dragged your feet a little at work due to the complete lack of energy lately. In spite of wanting to do a good job, find yourself unable to push past it. You feel horribly useless for it. You slide your hands off your face to the screen as it leaps at you. Hey, are you there? I really need to talk to someone about something. You feel like you're getting nowhere with your current task and probably use a break. However, you know that you have a history of getting distracted and losing motivation to pick something back up again afterwards. We can multitask, we can't do that. Tell Ath that you're busy. No, I don't want to be a jerk. He helped me, I should help him. Trying to regain focus to answer him. You feel like you've hit a brick wall with your task, so why not take a break and help out a friend? You. Hey, what's up? Oh, good, you're there. I just found out I got cheated on. I don't know what to do. Oh no, that's horrible. It is. Poor guy. Poor Attic. He seems like such a nice guy. The two of you talk for a long time. You lend a shoulder to your friend, give him space to rant, to cry, most importantly, to get a voice's inner turmoil. Give him your full attention and talk him through what his options are for what he does next. You keep him from doing something rash until you decide it's best for him to sleep on it before doing anything. Exhausted, he departs from bed and thanks you for being there to talk to him. As you close the IM window, feel horribly sorry for your friend, but happy that you were able to help. It serves as a tangible reminder to you that you're capable of being useful to someone instead of solely being a mess that needs everyone else's help. You boot up your work project and find that you're suddenly able to get some solid progress done on it that night. Great. See how the helped us. It's a sunny Saturday afternoon. You're in deep thought on the way back home from therapy. However, you notice that this time you're not in the same negative feedback loop as you usually get trapped in when beginning this you realise that although you still have your bad days, your lows not quite as low as they used to be. Your antidepressant bottle rolls across the dashboard as you take a left turn. You've been on this medication for quite a while now. After a period of trying a few different kinds, though you still have minor side effects, they've overall become an unnoticed part of your life. Hopefully they don't give me problems like we did before when I was trying to be with my girlfriend. You feel as if your life has generally changed for the better recently. You're beginning to wonder if you need them anymore. You don't feel as much despair or hopelessness, and you hate yourself a lot less these days. It's time to stop taking these. You think, I seem to not need them anymore. I think we should continue taking them. They're helping us now, and why would we stop? You have the realization you can't be sure if it's a general life change that's making you feel better, or if it's a sign that medication is working. You decide against discontinuing your meds. It's not really a lesson you'd like to learn the hard way, and the side effects of this particular kind are negligible. The next time you see Dr. Melvine, you tell her about this. She informs you that this is a common train of thoughts that people have been using medication to help them manage their depression experience, and they've managed to dodge a bullet because it generally ends poorly. She also asks you to talk to her first to make any decisions about your medication in the future. Good luck. It's yet another sleepless Thursday night. You're in Alex's apartment, wide awake in bed as she's sleeping peacefully beside you. She's fell asleep hours ago. You've been lying here, unable to shut your brain up long enough to fall asleep. You've added the feelings of insecurity about your relationship to the rest of the noise in your head, keeping you up tonight. It was kind of a tense night between you two. You arrived after a stressful day at work, and as you made dinner tonight, you barely said a word. You were stuck in your own head, and you had a hard time really being present with her. As your thoughts turned up to all of the way you feel like you're deficient at being a good person and beating yourself up mentally for each one. She told you she could tell you were in one of your moods. She said she wouldn't push you or miss talking to you as the two of you sat at the couch together. You wanted to tell her how much you love her, but you couldn't make the words come out and just ended up sounding defensive instead. As you lay there next to her now, you trace your fingers across her arm just lightly enough to not wake her. You still haven't explained your depression to her, or how you've started seeing a therapist, or that you've been taking medication and it's starting to feel more and more like a secret. You're keeping instead of something that simply doesn't know about you yet. It's becoming more and more apparent that it's impacting your relationship with her, and you're feeling guilty about this. However, you're also terrified that if she knew exactly how fucked up you are, that she would leave you. You already worry that she only with you because she doesn't realise how terrible a person you are yet. You're afraid that this would be the final thing to expose you. She stares in her sleep and squints as she opens her eyes with the confusion that comes with waking up. She asks if you're awake, and then if everything's okay. You can't open up to her with ease. I can tell her about your situation, I can tell her nothing. I should tell her. I don't want to keep a secret from her. You feel like a jerk for accidentally waking her. But you're afraid to put this off any longer. Like you won't find the strength to tell her everything later. No, actually everything isn't okay. I can tell you something important. Can I tell you something important? Alex sits up, rubbing the sleep out of her eyes. For the rest of the night you lie side by side, holding hands, and you tell her everything. You tell her how it's more than just feeling sad sometimes, how you feel trapped by your own mind somehow, how sometimes you feel nothing at all, and how you can't shake it off, and you tell her how you start going to therapy, and how you feel embarrassed by it, and how it's working out for you. She listens the entire time, occasionally asking questions about this, more about works, or asking you to explain something further. She squeezes your hand and tells you she understands. She said that you didn't tell her sooner. After lying silent for a moment, she weighs up what the weight of what you did hits you. disrespectfully want to say something to her, to tell you what she's feeling about all this, but you're too afraid what the answer will be to ask. You stop convincing her yourself that now she knows everything, she's going to leave. There's no way someone can deal with how you really are. So, how can I help? What do I need? What do you need me to do? She asks. Oh. You think for a second and answer. You come up with fills you despair. I honestly don't know. I wish I knew how to fix this. I don't know that you can do anything. I think it's something I just have to live with. She looks at you with sad eyes before kissing you on the forehead. Then I'll live with it. With you. I don't know how you could possibly love me. She rolls over and wraps her arm around your neck, settling her head on top of yours. You don't need to, just know that I do. It's a Friday night. You're lying across your bed, feeling pathetic. As you were leaving work tonight, a co-worker asked if you want to join them for drinks. Being antisocial and put on the spot, you declined. You have a habit of doing this. You're often so convinced that you're weird and terrible that any invitation to hang out or any disappointment for those inviting you. You never feel like you know how to act in group outings. You feel like a total creep, since it seems to come so naturally to anyone who isn't you. You feel yourself petrified of breaking someone's unknown social rule that you don't often go out. Now, however, you find yourself all alone at home. Your brain has begun telling you how pathetic inside you are for being able to just be a normal person and go with nice people. You can't figure out why you can't just go out and meet people and enjoy yourself. At the same time, you're also feeling that no one would possibly want to hang out with you. They rarely knew you because you're dull and weird anyway. You try your typical strategy, boot up Netflix to distract yourself from these feelings, but frustration with yourself builds and you realise you have to do something else with your night, anything else to take your mind off it. Of how awful and lonely you feel right now. Go over and go out to the bar where your co-workers are hanging out anyway. Can't do it, unfortunately. See if attics online. Call Alex, drink, go out somewhere alone, or play with my cat. Okay, so I'm not going to go out somewhere alone. That's not a good choice. I might get drunk or in a bad state and regret it. I could play with my cat. I think Alex probably wouldn't want to talk because he's upset about being cheated on. Let's call Alex. She wants to listen. You dial Alex's phone number, being that you could spend some time with her instead of being cooped up in your apartment alone. You feel less isolated. The phone rings a handful of times before going to voicemail. You know it's uncommon for her to be out with her friends at this hour. You leave a voicemail but end up calling again 15 minutes later. Still no response. You imagine Alex out with her friends, much like you would be tonight. You went so horrible socialising. Your mind wanders and you start to wonder who she's with and if she might meet somebody tonight she'd rather be with. Someone who's able to go to parties like this with her instead of being sitting at home feeling sorry for themselves. Why didn't she invite you? Have you just said no one too many times? How many other Fridays have you unknowingly missed? You begin to think that maybe it would be better if she met somebody tonight. She's a wonderful woman, and you feel like a constant joy kill on nights like this. Why can't you just be normal? The next morning, Alex calls you back. She tells you that she's left her phone in class and spent a boring night in an apartment too. You feel horribly embarrassed about her emotion, about how emotional you got over a mistaken assumption the night before. See? She's not doing anything. This is a really long thing. It's like we're playing out the entire life. It's a cold Saturday afternoon. You just arrived at Arthur's apartment, and you have to finally see her after a week of absence due to your schedule not lining up due to work and school. You hung her in the door. Oh, hug her, not hung. That'd be wrong. You hug her in the doorway, and she breaks away sooner than normal and sits down on the couch as you take off your sneakers and lie them in the usual place, right next to hers. I was hoping we could talk about, actually, she says. You instantly worry that you're being blindsided by a breakup conversation due to the sudden shift in tone, but she quickly smiles and puts you at ease once she tells you all the sees all the colours in your face. It's nothing bad, I promise. With that, she leads you over to the couch and sits on the other end of it facing you. So, I hope this doesn't freak you out. If you feel like things are going too fast, just tell me. She talks faster than usual and fidgets. We seem to have a lot of weeks like this, and they really suck. I was thinking I'd ask, since things are so strong with us, what are the thoughts of maybe moving in together? It takes a few seconds to sink in, and it leaves you a bit shocked when it does. You're worried she wants to spend less time with you, not more. Do you want to ask? Do you want to? You ask? Well, yeah, I do. I mean, we'd have to sort out logistics and everything, but those are things we can take care of. You start to walk through the steps of imagining the two of you living together. You love the thought of being able to wake up to her every day and seeing her so often. However, the more you picture it, the more a few concerns become apparent. There are things she's isolated from you, like the day you don't feel like you get out of bed, the night your medication keeps you up from being out of sleep, get the hiccups. All of those moments, you're stuck staring at the wall, completely out of energy and feeling nothing. How will she handle that? How come she want to get away? So she starts, what do you think? Take your relationship to the next step of ease, moving in together. Can't do that. You can tell her you want to be, you want to, but have concerns and dismiss them honestly. Tell her you don't think it's a good idea for right now. Decide to move in regardless of your worries. So, tell her you want to move, tell her you have concerns and dismiss them honestly. So that's what I state. You're moderately depressed. You find it hard to focus on anything because you get physically and mentally exhausted very quickly. You're in therapy for good counsellor. You're doing conjunctive behaviour therapy techniques and they are starting to help. Your medication is helping to keep the edge off and keep some of the darker and more negative feedback loops from being as prevalent. Let's say screwed worries and we'll move in. You've been in therapy for just for some time now. You've started to be able to realise with a rational fear and what is not. You feel like you might be simply being insecure, and you've already taken steps to discuss your difficulties with Alex in the past, and that she's making an informed decision. Your therapy is working, and you talk to Dr. Melanev about how to manage your depression with a partner living with you. And the next session, as she says, you can figure out the rest later. The point is that this is absolutely a thing you want. You're having too hard of a time sifting your excitement at the thought of having her around more. So you blurt your answer out. Yes, let's do it. Your face lights up. You cup her face in your hands and kiss her. mentally vow that you are not going to stop living because you have a mental illness. You're determined to take your life back. See, this is a good thing. It's December, and you return to your parents' house to celebrate the holidays with your family. Out the living room window, you can see a gentle flurry of snow drifting down to meet the pristine blankets of white from yesterday's unexpected Christmas Eve snowfall. And you quietly laughed yourself at how incredibly cliche it seems. Still, as you sit down for dinner, you can't help but notice how being surrounded by family and overly kits the atmosphere your mum and decorations have created. Cliche. I don't know. See, your made you feel relaxed and almost comfortable. Your mum is running around frantically, checking the oven and stockings and just generally trying to family time it up. While your dad sits at the head of the table, drinking a beer and laughing with your brother Malcolm. His wife Karen is there too. You've always got along with well. And your parents even agreed to let you bring your kitten along. She's been darting in and out of people's legs and hopping it into laps all night. As you've thoroughly munch away at your turkey, listen to the conversation around you. Your thoughts drift back over the last few months. You think about how hard things have gotten, replaying over in your head. Some of the worst as well as some of the best memories. It seems like all these things you came to head over the past few months. A sudden flow of relationship turmoil, professional anxiety, social stress, and above all, an omnipresent sense of weight that it seems you have just recently been aware of. You draw out the Riara by your dad's familiar booming laugh as some cheesy comments Malcolm made seem to have hit its mark. Sitting at the table, you suddenly immensely glad for the chance to be able to ignore everything for the evening and not have to struggle trying to explain yourself once. Fortunately, everyone seems to be content with laughing at each other's jokes and discussing favourite sports teams. And for a while, you think you'll be able to get through dinner without embarrassing personal intrusions. But no sooner did that the thought cross your mind, and a table conversation trickles, leaving a slight awkward silence to descend upon the dinner. So, how are you doing these days? Your mum asks you pointedly. It's such a simple question, and one you've had to answer countless times recently. You take a moment to collect your thoughts, and then look up and take a deep breath. Well. While you certainly can't say things over the past few months have been easy, you're almost ready to let yourself believe that the worst parts are behind you. It may be difficult to see the past, your self-loathing on most days, but even so, sometimes you can't help but notice that things do seem to get better, to be getting better. One of the more difficult challenges you find yourself having to face on a daily basis is your job. In spite of the attempts at position over cognitive behaviour techniques Dr. Mendel have taught you, your perspective of going into work every morning still fills you with dread and ennui. Fortunately, you've been able to contain these feelings for the most part, and at least you've been managing your attendance and keeping your job performance up enough that you weren't making things worse by getting you into trouble with your boss. Your employee situation may be far from ideal, but for now, you're content to punch the clock and collect your paycheck. On some evenings, when you've been feeling particularly motivated, you've even caught yourself hunting for the online classified and bookmarking some new jobs that look interesting. Who knows? You may not be far from taking a leap and trying for something new. It's been some time since you've hung out with any of your friends in earnest, and now you'd like, and now that you feel like you're coming out of the woods, you're beginning to feel self-conscious about having alienated them with past little while. You realise that much of the flakiness and subsequent withdrawal was largely a result of trying to hide from them out of embarrassment. The notation of trusting people with their vulnerabilities is very frightening to you, and if you're self-loathing and realise that your behaviour did cut them out, though it will help take a huge leap of faith in your heart, you resolve to repair the social relationships. You've started sending out casual messages to some of your friends asking to hang out. For the most part, the responses have been more encouraging than you were expecting. I need to hang out with my friends more. I haven't spoken to them in a while. Things went out quite tense for a while. After your conversation with her, she really did seem to be taking a more active role in helping to understand your situation. Even so, the past few months tested the limit of your relationship to limits. Ultimately, you were able to take her advice and step outside of your own head more and more. It was a difficult thing for you to do. Your defense mechanisms ran so deeply that oftentimes you weren't even aware of them. But you let yourself trust her as your partner, and your relationship has become much stronger for the experience. Despite all the clear progress you've made lately, you still carry the weight of insecurities practically everywhere with you, and you even have some days still where you can't do that much at all. On these days, it's very tempting for you to slip back into your older unhealthy habits, but much to your surprise, you've so far managed to avoid a major backslide. You know that you have a long way to go before you can feel like life isn't spinning totally out of control, and even when you do, you'll never ever be rid of your depression completely, but you have a strong support network. For the first time, you can remember you're actually feeling optimistic. Things are alright, Mom, you tell her. While you see her mouth tighten in worry, her eyes soften when she sees you smiling. We really want to thank you for taking the time to play Depression Quest. We realise it may not be the most enjoyable game you've ever played, or even the easiest, and we sincerely appreciate your involvement. If you'd like to contribute to the developers, like Depression itself, Depression Quest does not have an end really. There is no neat resolution to depression, and it is important to us Depression Quest's own resolution reflect that. Instead of tidy ending, we just want to provide a series of outlooks to take toward moving forward. After all, that's all we can really do with depression. Just keep moving forward, and at the end of the day, it's our outlook and support for people just like you that makes all the difference in the world. Thanks again. Credits. Okay, so as credits, I played through this in one sitting. It's a very touching game. It's not supposed to be cheery or make you laugh or anything. It's supposed to give you an outlook of people with depression. I don't have depression. I'm a very cheery person. I always look on positive things, but some people can't do that. So if you have depression, I say go see a psychiatrist, and maybe they can help and try and be happy with what you have and look on the bright side and overall enjoy life and do whatever it takes to make sure you're happy. Thank you for watching if you watched this, and I hope you enjoyed, and maybe play the game yourself, maybe donate. Okay, bye.